Brian Evans. He is a 26-year veteran of the Bloomington Police Force. He managed to change that job into a 4-year position with District 87 as a police officer who deals with crisis situations, and the official title is Director of Safety and Security, and he's going to tell you a lot more about what he's done, and then teach us more about what we can do if we ever find ourselves in one of these predicaments. Yeah. So Brian, thank you.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. As Kat said, I'm currently, this is my 4th year as Director of Safety and Security for District 87 schools. Prior to that, I worked for the Bloomington Police Department. Very fortunate in Bloomington. When I got on the force, I've been involved in a lot of different areas. Mainly when I first started out, of course, you know, I'm in the new policeman, tactics, firearms, range, SWAT team leader, armorer, you know, all that type of thing, which, by the way, I say it like that, but it's really cool. And I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I learned a lot there. But I took that training, and as I progressed through my career, I wound up, I was a school board president in my local community. I was teaching in kindergarten classes, you know, about like stranger danger, you name it. And I got into the school resource officer unit. And basically what that is, it's policemen in schools. They deal with you know, day-to-day situations, and they're a great resource to have in our buildings, because some of the kids, when they do, not just kids that are getting in trouble, for the kids that aren't, they're a good resource for them to talk to. But even when it comes to the kids that may get in trouble, we have options. Instead of just arresting a kid or writing a ticket or whatever, we can work with the student, the administrators, the family, and even juvenile court services to better address situations that may come up, to keep that kid unnecessarily being charged with something that we can fix by counseling and mentoring and relationships. So that's what really, the reason I say that, that's what really drew me into that unit. Once I was in there, the police department spent, they tell me, a lot of money, and I'm sure it was, it's been training on assessing buildings, meaning churches, businesses, schools, you name it, on their environmental design. And going into the buildings, checking out crisis plans, working with them so that first responders have their crisis plans, and they're all at the police department, from keys to buildings, you name it. This was early on. This is when the program first started. So that was very appealing to me. And then they moved it up a little bit farther and said, Brian, we've had you training, we want you to get into the schools and do this. Help them with their crisis planning. And when I first started doing it, it was new. It was very new. So once I got in there, that's where I was the rest of my career. And then Dr. Barry Riley, who's the superintendent of District 87, he had a vision a couple of years before I retired. He goes, look, we've been working together for 16 years, 15, 16 years total. He says, you have all this training. I'm tired of you going and working with Unit 5, the parochial schools. Everybody else, well, I'll pay for you. He didn't say a lot like that. I think he might have meant it. And he was right. His vision on my position, I jumped into it, and I think there were 3 of us at the time. Now I'm part of the NISA, the National Northern Illinois School Safety and Security Administrators. It's an organization, we're up to 50 directors of safety and security in that, within schools and things like that. We didn't leave everybody else high and dry, though. The school resource officers just progressed. Monies from the cities and the schools, they were chipping in to where my position was covered, and then some. And I believe Normal just added 2 more to their junior high schools. And that really is, regardless of what you hear, I trained for it, I worked in it, and I lived it and witnessed it. It really is a good thing for our kids and the families. It really is. Because I've seen people come in from different areas and question us on, when I was with the police department, on us being in those buildings. I don't know what they were thinking, but I guess there's some school districts that, when the SROs were in there, they were making arrests that they could have handled differently, like we were doing. So we kind of set a precedent. And it just evolved from there with Unit 5, 87 and whatnot. I'm working with families, juvenile court services, other agencies to work within that school along with law enforcement and the other agencies to try to better assist those students and families. And it really does work. I know for a fact the arrest rate is probably a tenth of what it would be if we didn't have this type of a program in the buildings, working with everybody and sharing information. So enough about that. But that's kind of where I came from. And then after that, they said, before you leave, Brian, you have all this now, along with your armor, your range instructor, firearms instructor. We want you to lead the 4-county, Livingston, Woodford, McLean, and the 3, and train policemen in active shooter response. So that's what I did a lot of the last 4 or 5 years of my career with Bloomington Police. Working with state police, you name it, but how to respond and how law enforcement responds to an active shooter situation. Most of mine started with, when I first got into it, with what might happen at a school. And my gosh, look where we're at now. Walmarts, nightclubs, movie theaters, downtown, churches, concerts, hotels. It can happen anywhere. So when Ken asked me to come in and talk a little bit, I thought, what a great opportunity to come in and discuss with some people, all of you today, on some things we can think about to better understand. Well, I don't know if we'll ever understand this type of a situation, but to better maybe respond or react to it. And with that said, being prepared and overall awareness seems to be the best thing that we can do in case we're ever confronted or involved in a crisis situation such as an active shooter. And that's as simple as, well, let me ask you this. How many people, well, you know how to dial 911, right? There's something obvious. I don't know where everybody's from. Probably more than just local area.
No, all over the state.
All over the state.
Florida.
So yeah, so you're everywhere. So your dispatch centers function differently from county to county, city to city, etc. But in my phone, even now, you can dial 911 from your phone here in Bloomington, but it goes to Metropolitan Communications out on Route 9 at the old airport. Then they have to dispatch you back, if you're using your cell phone, to the Bloomington Police Department dispatch for any police and fire needs. It's not a long delay, but it is a delay. So I don't know how many of you have like all your non-emergency numbers on your phone. Is it in your contacts or where is it at? Do you have to go through your contacts and do it? Make those widgets on your phone. Put them right up front. Put them right on the screen that you can go to, so you can go to it and you can hit whichever one you want. I have state police, Tazewell County, because my mom lives there. Because I know she'd end up calling me, Brian, what do I do? Mom, I didn't call the police or the fire. Your thing's on fire. So I have all those to this day because lo and behold, it's going to be at, you know, some hour of the evening when I'm half asleep or whatever it may be. So I have all my emergency contacts on my cell phone. As long as I have my cell phone, I'm good though. If you don't, you're kind of, you know. But take that being prepared and awareness, have those emergency contact numbers, even the non-emergency, because it may not be a 911 call. You may need the 820-8888 for Bloomington Police and Fire. You may need 434-2700 for Bloomington Police and Fire. Those are the non-emergency numbers. So, you know, keep those types of things in the back of your mind. Anything you can do to be a little bit more prepared is going to help. Even in case something like this ever does happen to you, or your workplace, or when you're out shopping, or wherever, or right here in this hotel conference. Where are you at right now? The DoubleTree in what? Normal? Bloomington? You sure?
Yes.
Okay. That kind of stuff. When you go into a conference, you go into a building, you go into the restaurant, the movie theater, yeah, you know, you sat there, there's an exit there, silly, and there's an exit there. They're always there, right? I visually find them. You know, I even have my wife trained. She'll do it, she won't set with her back to the wall, she lets me sit there because I like to at least see what's coming at me, you know, before it approaches. So things like that, just being, you know, aware and whatever little steps you can take are going to help to train your mind in case something tragic ever happens. This is off of the, this is a great website, and we'll use a couple little things from information. This is the Department of Homeland Security. The reason I'm going to use this today is I'll talk about a couple of things on there, and then you can go back to it, follow through with it, and look some of the things up. And it's really a great resource on some other situations as well, not just active shooter. I like the profile of an active shooter. I to this day do not know what that is. There isn't one. There isn't one. Most of it's fueled by hate or something, but there's no way to put your finger on it, the exact profile. Now, something that's very important with this section, though, is also if you can take back to your workplace and your school districts or whatever, and that there's a new law for threat assessment teams within school buildings. You can have them in businesses, in your workplace and whatnot, and trying to identify things or individuals that may be going through something that you can identify to start getting some things going as far as help for them, or at least refer them to the right people within the agency or the building or whatever it is, to start talking with people if you see odd, strange behaviors, like repeatedly talking about, guns and shooting people or something obvious like that. Don't just let that stuff get swept under the rug, especially in today's society. If something happens to them, personally or with their family or at home, start the old, if you see something, say something. Don't see it and just kind of, discard it. If you see something that's out of the ordinary or normalcy, I guess, make sure that you try to pass it along and at least address it. Don't let things lie that seem odd or peculiar to you. Just because they drink Diet Pepsi instead of Diet Coke, I'm not talking about that, but obviously there were serious things. But an active shooter is an individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. In most cases, active shooters use firearms, and there is no pattern or method to their selection of victims. That's proven time to time with all the school shootings and concert shootings and whatnot. Active shooter situations are unpredictable, and they evolve quickly. Typically, the immediate deployment of law enforcement is required to stop the shooting and mitigate harm to victims. Usually these are over within 10 or 15 minutes, and most of the time, the person either kills themselves, they shoot themselves, whatever it may be, or someone takes them down. And then the rest of the cops come in and kill them, which they should do. Eliminate that threat when people are being attacked in our society and murdered mercilessly, especially little kids in schools. I had a chance to talk to Frank DeAngelis. I don't know if you know who he is. Columbine, one of the first big school shootings. I had just gotten on the SWAT team at that time, and back then, and I've recently, in the last 3 years, been to several of his conferences and spoke with him. And he even told me one time we were sitting there going, remember back in the day, he goes, when SWAT would show up, 45 minutes, they have the perimeter, we have their guns and everything. And in the meantime, in Columbine, Frank breaks down in balls. He goes, that's when the kids were being killed. Changed the entire thought of law enforcement response. Now we have active shooter response. Basically what's going to happen there is if you're ever in a situation, or the schools or whatnot, the first officers on scene, it might be one. Usually, hopefully you get two. They're going to go in and unleash the most extreme amount of violence they can to eliminate that threat. Period. So, with that said, and the reason I wanted to bring that up, that's true in the business, that's true everywhere else. It's just that when we talk about the schools, it's kind of scary, because I remember responding to normal community. I was at Central Catholic High School, going to all the buildings. The ones that Barry told me, hey, I don't want you to do that anymore, I want you to come back and work for me. I happened to be out there helping them out with a parking issue. The high school kids were doing burnouts down on the end of the drive there, or something. It was down on the far end. And I think it was only one or two. But that call came in, and this was before school. Because to this day, people go, well, Brian, how did you respond so quick? You're Bloomington. Why were you a normal community? Because of my location, and it came over the radio. I responded out there, and I'll tell you, you've got to believe this. Any situation, I've been to murders, I've been to armed robberies, whatever. I've never felt this going to a building full of kids. Last call, active shooter, shots fired. I put my helmet down. I have to say that because everybody was responding. You're going to have everybody from every cop in the area or not in the area coming to respond to a school shooting. It's really not that much different from another massive shooting. You're still going to come. But that pit in your stomach, I thought of 10 officers that were going there with me, that their kids were there. It's like, holy crap. So we get there, we run in right then, Officer Weir, big buddy of mine, he had the guy handcuffed. Thank goodness the director, the guy inside, the teacher, and a couple of the bigger boys got him down, they secured him, and then all of a sudden now we have a second subject. So everybody remains on lockdown, and we start to search. So my chief, in his wisdom at the time, not the chief now, Dan Donoff, he's awesome, the guy back then was too. He says, he called me on the radio. He says, are you out there? I said, yeah, I went 1023. He says, I want you to stay there for as long as they need you. Because I was at one of the top active shooter instructors. They gave me a team, and it was a normal police department scene. They gave me a team of 3 guys, and we started doing the searches and doing the hallways, and it was quiet and searching rooms. Did a 3rd search where we started to evacuate kids. And I'll tell you, when you go into these classrooms, some of these kids, some of them, they really didn't know what was going on because it was so far away. And then some of them heard the shots. And they're like, holy, what are you, you're in school, I'm in school. I'm here, I hear 4 gunshots. So we're going around, and when we go in there, we have AR-15s, and we have, shotguns and things like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it scared some people. It scared the shit out of me. Pardon my frankness. So when we went around to those different rooms, pulling those kids out, these kids peed their pants, it's a horrible thing. But afterward, we look back on it, we learned so much, and then I take it to where we're at now, and how law enforcement and how school districts respond with their drills and trainings, how far we've come because of these few individuals in our society that wreak havoc on us. So that's kind of where we're at with an active shooter. For a reason, and it really causes, even in that situation, we have a couple of teachers that were students there that are in my buildings as teachers. So when we do a drill, it's home for them. Without getting too much more into that, as far as the active shooter goes, what would you do if all of a sudden you heard, like out in your building or out in society, out at the store, you heard pop, 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 or you saw someone walking through the parking lot with a gun, and you're not directly with them, you're not right on them. That's when you get your phone out, find your widgets that we just talked about, and start pushing buttons. Try to remember, the bald, he was bald, he had a long sleeve polo shirt on, and he had a gun in his hand. Any information you can start initiating, if you see something and say something, will help to ever deal with an active shooter situation. Get yourself away from it, get 911 as soon as you can. What if you can't? What if all of a sudden you're here, somebody walks into this conference center out here, and all of a sudden you hear the gunshots out here?
Barricade the door.
Try to figure out how to lock it. If it doesn't lock, I put a cap right in front of it, and I start stacking stuff up. All holes, nothing's out of the question. Some people may be running away, try to do what's best for that position. If someone's directly right out there, now your chance to run, like we started with, you're far enough away to get away, go. But if you're not, don't run out there. barricade that door and don't, do it as fast as you can. Drag tables, put chairs up, lean against it if it doesn't lock. Door stops. The door stops, hold doors open. Jam those under the door. Yeah, jam those under. Anything like that. Try to get that door locked. Because now you're in a situation where you can't evacuate or run. You have to start locking yourself down to some degree. And even hide. FBI statistics have shown behind a secure door or a locked door, and you're out of sight from that door and quiet, no one has been executed or murdered. It's only if they can see someone or if they can get in. Those are FBI statistics. I looked them up at the last school shooting, especially for Parkland, because I went through some training with some guys that were, kind of dissecting that and how that kid went through a lot of things so wrong in that situation. I ain't going to go there. But to this day, the research shows that if you're secured and you're out of sight, no one's died. It's only if they can see you or the door is unlocked and they can get into you, obviously. So keep that in mind. The barricading the door, that stuff works. It's proven. It's proven. And another one that, I work with all these different people on my trainings. Another one, Michelle Gay. And because she has San Diego Promise Council. I don't know if you've heard of that. There's some pretty good information on that side as well. But her kindergartner was in a classroom. Teacher thought she locked the door and she shut it. It wasn't. Guy walked in and murdered 16 little kids, including her daughter. The door right next to it, the teacher got it locked. Hit it and went on past it. Yeah?
This room in particular, which is somebody walks in kind of through doors. In this room, there could be somebody with a FOID card, possibly concealed carry, possible law enforcement individuals. It may vary. A quick assessment of who might be able to respond.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to take charge. Anybody a cop, anybody concealed carry. You try to do it as quietly, you don't want to draw attention, but yeah, and hopefully if someone is, they're going to be up front with it or already have, like me, I'd already have my pistol out. But that's an awesome point. These are the kind of things we really want to think about. Ask, find out, because if somebody comes in, you'll want to know who possibly does have. Good point. Any other expertise or training is going to come in handy, and hopefully people will just offer that. But, how many concealed carry do we have? Any concealed carry? Do you abide by the signs out front? She called me up. There's no signs.
If there's signs, then there wouldn't be an active shooter, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah, he wouldn't be where he got his turned his gun in. That's So, that's the old adage there where, I hate to say it, but if you're ever in that position, the old saying, any military or law enforcement, adapt and overcome. Start thinking. Never stop thinking. Never stop thinking. Never cower. You will have people do it. They're so scared they can't function. Leave them. No, don't leave them, but just work with what you have. Because people will step up in those types of situations. So if you have to lock it down and be ready, and then for example, if Cat could not hold that door shut and they came in, there's probably 4 or 5 of us right now wouldn't even have to think about it. We would maul him and not even think about it. But you want to think about these things in case you're ever thinking, who is a concealed carry? Those 3 in the back probably take him out for us without even thinking. 1 or 2 of them get shot. It's real. But, it saves the masses. You do what you got to do. So those are your 3. Try to evacuate or get away if you can. You're not right in. If it's something that's right on you, try to secure yourself best you can. Get out of the line of the door. Secure it. And try to stay quiet. Get those phones out. They may or may not work. Normal community, the phone's shut down. Everybody's like, It's terrible.
And why did it shut down?
The overwhelmed. I compare. I think, and somebody, there's probably much of you know how cell towers work a lot better than I do. But they can get overwhelmed. They've come a long way since then. But I always looked at it then as like a gym membership. Sell a bunch of gym memberships, you're only going to be 10 people. You have a bunch of people on your wire. I mean, all the companies work that way. I mean, that's how you work. That's how you do it because there's so many people that have a cell phone. And it just depends on the capacity, what they're able to accommodate with phones. But always remember your texting. Textings are good note takers. Send them. Eventually, maybe they'll go through. Use your phone to keep track of notes, or if they do work, get information out to your emergency responders. Because once law enforcement is in here, like I said at the beginning, they're coming in, they're going to unleash the most extreme amount of violence they can to eliminate that threat. They're going to take them out, down, or kill them. Period. That's the way everybody's trained. That's how I train people. There's no room for anything else. Stop police, you just murdered 18 little kids. That's not how it works. They come in and they eliminate it. There's no more, stop police using the finger or something like that. Okay, that happened. What do you do after police start coming in? Down, get on the ground! You, hands up! What are you going to do with all that stuff? Do your best. Do your best. What do you say? Which one yelled at me first? Do your best to follow the directions that you're given. The new way of training after the fact on getting people out, we're trying to train people to use officers to use a calmer voice. But remember what they're responding to. They don't have a shooter yet. Maybe the shooter jumped down the subway like. So they're going to come into a situation, do your best, immediately if they come in and they announce themselves, get your hands up and get your fingers apart. If you have this in your phone, if you have this in your hand, go, get rid of it. Okay? Because under high stress, some of you have probably been in it, military, you name it, tunnel vision, regardless of how much training you have. When it comes time to pull that trigger, it's different. So get your hands open, try to follow directions, because police are going to come in fast and furious and eliminate whatever.
Are they always thinking that even if they think they have a person and they're letting people go, that another person could be in that room hiding?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always, when you come in, we had like the first two scans, we knew we had one, we had another subject that normal went in, and then on the second one, as we checked people, we were able to leave their bag, and we start getting the kids out. And getting them across over there to Eastview. But that thought never leaves your head. When the people are handcuffed and at the jail, and you're evacuating kids, you have sobbing kids, sobbing parents, you would think, even in that situation, you have that many people that upset, that many parents that scared. You got to keep those emergency responders in the back of your mind. Not only is there stress blasting through their head, I knew many kids in there. The emotions are boiling. So just kind of keep all that hands up, fingers apart, follow direction. If they have the exit, go and do all that. And that's the easy part. Everything we talk. The ruining of lives. It will never be the same. That's real. To rebuild, to regroup. If it's a workplace, employee assistance, counseling, medical stuff, rebuilding things, it's massive. It's massive. So, and it's part of our society.
I'm really terrified by the thought that there's a big push for arming teachers, everybody carrying a gun. If it comes to that and you're a first responder, how do you decide which gun is a good gun?
It's very difficult. If a school district wants to, if they ever go down that road, a school board wants to go down that road, they need to think long and hard. different parts of the country accept firearms differently. Texas, things like that. I mean, you have just different cultures of firearms and how they grew up. You know, it was in the rack of my window out, and things like that. Depends on where it's at. You have to think long and hard on that. Because I say this, these people are in there, they're trying to teach our kids math. Helping our kid get through a bad day, or a kindergarten's being abused at night. Now I got to teach them how to spell, let alone call DCFS on his parents. And I slept 4 hours last night because my dad has cancer and he's dying. Now, give me a gun to be responsible for. Don't lay it down, ever. Don't use the restroom. Don't leave it on a counter. You learn that concealed carry. I know there's a lot of things in there. But while you're doing all these other things, and then the workplace, no different. High demand, stress, get this project done, that project done, whatever it is. But like you're saying with the teachers, that's a lot. That is a lot. And it is scary. I'm not giving an opinion yes or no. I know the superintendents around here are against it for good reason. A lot of the teachers are against it. I don't think I've heard maybe a couple of teachers say they would even want their colleagues, knowing what they're going through in their own life and everything else, to be carrying a gun. Some would. It is scary. Do I have an answer? Not really. I have an opinion. We all have one of those, right? Question?
One of the things I have observed is that a lot of the drills are talking about preventing the shooter, and my concern is that maybe the shooter may be in that space watching what to do. Yeah,
that's always been a concern back when we started, even to this day. It's like anything else. There may be that one, and let's say it did happen. Maybe we can learn to that one class. Isn't that awful to have to stand here and say that to people? As long as your kid's not one of the 16 or 20 that get shot. But if it happened in that one class and everybody else was following those procedures and doing those drills the way they're supposed to be done, boom. I watched 4-year-olds at Sarah Raymond's school 2 weeks ago do the best lockdown drill I've seen in District 87, Unit 5, Dunlap, you name it. They were quiet, the teachers had them out of sight, and it was less traumatic than that fire alarm that I hate to this day. We have 3 of them a year. And the heroes all come out, the firemen. Right. They're good buddies of mine, they really are. Probably saved my life once or twice. But, when's the, let's see, I'm trying to think back. Some of you guys that are over that 60, 70, when's the last time someone died in a fire in a school? This place wouldn't burn down if you lit it on fire. But yet, the emergency stuff, all that, it's there. I totally get you. I totally get what you're saying, and maybe. But the masses, to keep somebody from walking down like they did in Sandy Hook and murder little kids, if they would have been confined in one room, it would have been a lot less horrific. Because, and going back to the workplace and the school districts, and talking with Michelle Gay from Sandy Hook, her entire life, and all those people there, their lives are shattered. Shattered! How do you come back from murdering babies? That's one thing, somebody came here and shot all of us. Boy, that sounds morbid, doesn't it? But dead baby kids? That's a whole different ballgame. That will mess you up. It would mess all of us up. Maybe one of us could walk away from that and be normal again. So, yeah.
I work at the local hospital, and we're taught to run and hide. But I always thought that the public would think of when the hospital staff is seeing their patients because they're not able to move. But they've always said it will happen so quickly that you won't be able to do anything.
Always leave people behind.
Yeah.
It's that morbid. You can't save everybody. Yeah. In law enforcement, if you think, you minimize the casualties, minimize all you can do. Because if you go trying to save everybody, too many people will die. There'll be people that don't want to go with you. You may not be able to make them. They're full body able, you know, ready, could do it and won't or can't, just physically shut down. Same thing with them. Get yourself to a safe spot. There's different, I've been trained in 3 different ones. There's Alice, there's Run, Hide, Fight, there's lockdown drill. We still do lockdown with adapt and overcome, kind of like that. If you can get away in the first place, go. If you're outside, go to the alternate location. It's all in the plans. Because a lot of times people say, well, lockdown drill, that's hunker down and die. Far from it. That's what you do when they're coming in. You know. So with that said, you know, it's just a scary thing overall. And whatever emergency action plan, your business or your school district or whatever they use, just know them and encourage the kids, encourage your coworkers to read through the stuff. To where they at least have an idea of what your agency or what your school district are doing. And that's about all you can do. This stuff is not normal. This is borderline terrorism war stuff to do this to our own people and little kids. So, yeah.
So if you were in a normal office, where would you go hide? You wouldn't crawl under a desk, would you?
Could you get the door locked? You have a lock on your door. You have a lock on your door?
Typically, the outside door we do.
Could you get to it? Don't know. And when you're doing your door, which way do you turn the key to lock it? Or can you lock it from the inside? Those are little things that are kind of nice to know ahead of time. Which way does the door swing open? Yep, yep. There's a lot of little things you can do when you go into your office. Ask yourself those questions. I go to calls, and I still do it a little bit. I'm not quite as that way anymore. But going to a call, I'd have 3 scenarios. If they come out the door shooting at me, or if I go inside, see if he's in there, you just play it out. Think about wherever your business is. I know you don't even know. How's it laid out? Do you know the address of your building? Little things like that. So if you ever did have to call, you may know it's Henderson and Ware Realty, but you know, dispatch will probably find it. But know as much about your location as you can. You know, addresses, your door lock, swing in and open like you guys say, and does it swing out or shut or outward or inward? Can you get your door locked? Can you even lock it? Can you barricade it like we said at the very beginning when we first started talking? Could you get it barricaded? Do you have help to barricade it? Can you dive through the damn window and run? Nothing's out. Nothing's off the table in these types of situations. Yep.
So do the police have a record of what buildings are gun-free zones so that they know, like...
In Illinois, all of them are. A school
because I'm thinking that sticker that all the buildings have, so if you're anywhere, then like some will have the sticker and some won't, so you'll know if there's possibly more carry concealed people there versus...
I had to have a governing body sign off and okay me to carry a weapon in a school.
I mean,
Technically, you have federal law and state laws, and they differ. The law enforcement, technically, an off-duty Bloomington policeman, off-duty, fully sworn officer, in the state, it's illegal to go into that school, park, church, or playground with that pistol.
What about like ones that aren't that? Like if this building has the sticker.
This building,
Like
you can't have concealed carry, but law enforcement still good. Off-duty law enforcement can come in here with their weapon.
Because won't that kind of affect how you guys possibly handle situations?
You know what? It has grown so big. It's just like the other things that we talked earlier. What are you thinking about? You always think it's almost, that sign means almost nothing.
Okay.
That sign means nothing because those are the people that concealed carry go through the training and everybody else. That's not what I'm worried about.
I know, but they might be able to help get that.
They might, and that came up with what he was saying earlier. Good point. And that's kind of stuff you need to think about. So if they were in here, you had a concealed carry, You just gotta be careful. You just gotta know what the laws. Can I be in these positions? And that's all taught to you in concealed carry classes. Anyone who goes through concealed carry, you know where you can carry your weapon and you can't with your restrictions.
So if we call 911, should we know, like, if it's something happens wherever we're at, should we know if we see that sticker to say this is a gun-free zone, so there may not be any carry?
That means absolutely nothing.
I'm gonna say,
I was just trying to think like,
Yeah.
the perpetrator will never worry about that gun-free zone.
No.
That's the last thing.
Well, and I know what you,
yeah, I'm trying to say.
I know what you're saying. I get it. But yeah, no. No.
I would prefer to have a dozen people that are trained and have concealed carry in here and not worry about that gun-free zone, because that's a damn thing.
I know it. And same way with me, even in law enforcement, when I was a sworn officer, let alone out or off duty, you know, I know two people in this room right now that I just would hope they could get to their concealed carry gun to help or just be around. Yeah, don't worry about all that stuff, because you know what you want to do if you ever have to call is a description: bald-headed, great-looking, bald-headed guy with a long polo shirt, and give them that kind of information.
Okay.
I totally respect that question. I'm kind of making it a little bit light of it, but don't get caught up in it, because it doesn't. It really doesn't. They're not going to respond any different.
Okay. Right.
You could make one real quick in crayon and hold it up or something and put it on the front door, and it doesn't matter. They're still going to drive their squad car through the front door if they don't have the keys.
Right.
Yeah, whether there's a sign or whatever the situation. Firemen, you know, this is interesting. I was talking to Chief Moore here in Bloomington, and the fire guys are actually trying to start learning tactical response. They have vests and they can come in sooner. Because people are dying because nobody can get to them. We're trying to do stop the bleed trainings. We integrate teachers and students. Like, stick your finger in it. I mean that. Take a gauze and shove your finger in a bullet hole. I mean, that stuff like that, that's what's going to save people in these situations. Because once these active shooters come in, and who knows how many people could have been saved if we had some of those tactical firemen that were able to go in with loaded armed policemen. Because what happens now, maybe I kind of clouded that. Law enforcement arrives, they have shots fired. The fire department is nowhere on the property. Period. They're staged. They're not on the property. With this new training that they're trying to introduce, they're going to have certain guys that possibly might go on the property with a secondary team of law enforcement to go in and start putting their fingers in these people's bullet holes and stuff like that and try to save them. It sounds kind of ugly, but it's real. You know, I know how to plug the holes. I had the fire guy show me how to do it. In my own medical bag, I have the. I tell my wife in case I ever shoot myself on accident. I have the patches, and I've had the fire guy show me how to do them. You put one in the front and back in case you get an open wound, kind of helps seal off your body and stuff. I've got all that stuff. I mean, you may think I'm a little overboard, but if I ever had to stick them on you, right? So medical kits, will first pick it. Gauze works. Gauze can work as well as some of the new high dollar clotting agents that you can shove in. In fact, a couple of the medical tactical guys today still prefer the old school gauze packing where you shove it in so tight it starts shutting off all the blood vessels, that's why you bleed to death. They're seared, they're cut, and that's what bleeds. And they still like the old gauze method, to where you pack it so tight, and then with the tourniquets, that used to be a concern for good reasons. But for no longer than tourniquets would be used in a urban city like this, it far outweighs using a tourniquet than not. So, you know, a little tourniquet, or learn how to make one with gauze, things like that. So now what I'm jumping on into with this type of a situation, you know, how to do little medical kits. I have one in my car, one in my wife's car. I don't even know if she knows it's there. She does. She knows it's there. One in my house and one in my cabin. Full deal. If you get shot, you've got a good chance of living if I'm there. Unless you go through one of your internal organs. I'm not going to do on that. But, yeah.
Do you bring it inside with you? everywhere?
No, it's in my truck.
I know, but you may not be close to it.
You're right. See, now you're thinking.
Do you have a go bag?
Yep. Yep. And when I carry my little 511 holster, it has the little tourniquet and the gauze pad in it. Yeah. I hope I didn't get too far off the subject there, Kat.
No, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah. Question?
Well, I live out in the country,
Mm-hmm.
and we're hearing a lot of rumors about things starting to happen out in the country. Okay, when my husband isn't home, I'm not sure what I should do, but when he is home and say it's during the night, we have guns, but they're in the basement locked in a safe.
Let me say something. You do what's comfortable for you. If you have grandkids you're scared to death about being around, if you're, you do what's comfortable, because if you're not comfortable with it, gun will kill you. Or someone, if you don't respect it or know how to handle it or not. But my wife's in the same position if she's at the cabin. It's 30 minutes from anybody. She laughed at me the other day, I bought helicopter insurance. Come on, get helicopter, so I'm out in the boonies. It's down in Missouri. Anyway, that's just one of those things. But I have a full medical bag full of gauze and tourniquets there as well. She is very good with firearms. So I'm lucky. But that's the only reason, and we have one that's accessible down there. And I can't tell you where it's at, it's in a special place. Because when I go fishing, I leave it there. I don't take it with me. I take, whatever else. But, should I be taking my gun fishing? Yeah, probably, if you really want to think about it. Anything else, any other questions on stuff? I kind of got off that, but it gets us thinking about this. If it ever did happen, in some ways we could, just be thinking about it, have in the back of your mind. Yeah.
You mentioned something about like at schools, you have to get special permission to have guns. Now churches, is that another thing?
Yep.
Where they have to have special permission?
I don't know if you can get it in church. Let me know.
It's like at my
Oh,
church.
I don't think you can. Because that came up. I had a couple of the guys that went to our church that said, Brian, you can, you do. Anyway, whether I was supposed to or not. But they asked that. And I said, according to the law, no. So with that said, look in, talk to people in the church that are in the business part of it or committees or something like that and start those discussions there. I don't want to speak for a specific entity or whatever. And get that conversation going. Yes, sir.
Now that they've got here in Illinois concealed carry, and it's like I've got military background, I only have to have 8 hours.
Right.
What's your feeling on the people that hit them? But should there be some kind of follow-up to where they,
Oh, heck yeah.
You can go out and get concealed carry, but do you really know what you're doing?
Well, it depends on the instructor of the classes. I've seen some really good ones, and I've seen some not so good ones. So, and then what do you have to qualify after that? How many times do you have? 5 every 5 years? Yeah. Yeah, it should be at least every year. I mean, what is it, 30 rounds on target or something?
Yeah, because before I got one from Utah, and of course when Illinois got theirs, then that was gone.
Right, and a lot of those aren't compatible.
Oh, you look at that,
it's crazy. It's mind-boggling. Well, I can't. I have to hurry up, unload it, put it in my case, go through this state, and then I get there and get it back out.
There's the bell. I do want to thank Brian for his time. Brian, can I tell him what your son does? Brian's son is part of our Delta Forces for our military. So we thank him for his service.
Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of the conference.